Hello Pokemon trainers, welcome back to another Pokemon TCG Pocket video here on iStarly TV. We are about a day away from the release of Space-Time Showdown, Space-Time Smackdown, I always get the names mixed up, on TCG Pocket, and I believe it's coming out, it says, it's confusing because there have been official releases that say it comes out on the 29th, and releases that say it come out on the 30th. I think they're talking about time zones. So for me personally, I am in Pacific time, which means for me, I'm assuming it's going to be coming out on January 29th at reset, like when the game resets, you know, like every day when it resets and it gives you like your daily rewards, which for me is usually 10 p.m. So I'm expecting it tomorrow night at 10 p.m. And so depending on where you are, you know, in the world, that's going to affect what day it comes out. Because for example, if you're on Eastern time in the United States, it might be coming out like at maybe 1 a.m. on the 30th. So technically it is the 30th, right? I don't know. I'm not certain about that, but that's just, I think the last time the set Mythical Island came out, it was like 10 p.m., you know, on whatever date it was that it came out. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, here are some leaked cards. We got some leaked cards from Space-Time Smackdown. There's a real good chunk of cards that were supposedly leaked, so I'm not showing them just yet. So of course keep that in mind. If you don't want to be spoiled from any cards in the set, make sure to leave a like on this video, and then feel free to comment below what you're excited about in the set, and then feel free to dip out on the video if you do not want to watch it, if again you don't want to see any leaks. So please keep that in mind. Spoiler warning, I'm going to be showing cards that are not officially confirmed, I don't believe, and given that they're leaks, it's possible that these are not even real, but they look very real, so I am expecting these to be right. Alright, so there's 3 cards that I want to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of cards I want to talk about here. There's a lot of cards that have been revealed, but 3 cards in particular that I really wanted to kind of focus on, because I think that they're like pretty massive with how they kind of change the meta. So the first one here is Manaphy. This is not an EX, it's just Manaphy. And it's a basic Pokemon water type with 50 HP. It also has 1 retreat cost. And it says Oceanic Gift for 1 water energy. Choose 2 of your benched Pokemon. And for each of those Pokemon, take a water energy from your energy zone and attach it to that Pokemon. So this is a massive setup Pokemon for water decks. As if water decks needed more ways to add energies to their Pokemon, right? So I could see how people could be really annoyed by this card. I think it's balanced. Obviously, it's really powerful, don't get me wrong. This is going to be a new, probably staple in water decks, because it can just really accelerate you, and it can accelerate multiple Pokemon. So, you know, obviously you can, once you have an energy on it, you can attach basically 2 energies to one of your Pokemon, and then 1 energy to another. What I mean by 2 energies is, of course, you attach an energy for the turn, and then you attach the energy with Manaphy's attack. This does not do any damage, which is good, because that would be insane if it did. It also only has 50 HP, so it might be pretty easy to kill. You're probably going to get off at least 1 attack with it, though, so you're going to set up at least once with it. But, you know, if the opponent has just Druddigon in front of you, you can just kind of spam this over and over every turn, and really just build up your strong water Pokemon. So it'll be interesting to see if this replaces Druddigon in like Gyarados decks, or if Druddigon will still be like the best way to do it, because we're going to talk about ways that Druddigon's actually going to get better, which kind of sounds insane. But yeah, this is definitely a Pokemon to watch out for. Again, the fact that it's 50 HP though, it dies in like 2 attacks against like most Pokemon in the game. Even a lot of weak basic Pokemon usually do about 20 damage, so a couple attacks from them plus a Giovanni kills this. There's also Pokemon like Farfetch'd, which with Giovanni can kill this in 1 hit. Obviously a lot of evolved Pokemon can kill this easily, so just keep that in mind. Like, yes, this is really strong, but it does die very quickly. It's nowhere near the power level of like Druddigon, where it can survive multiple attacks. And thankfully, because if this had like 100 HP, who knows what would happen with us. The next card I wanted to talk about is a new supporter, and this one looks like it might make one of our other friends obsolete. This is Cyrus. Switch in one of your opponent's benched Pokemon that has damage on it to the active spot. So this is basically Sabrina, but you get to choose what they switch into. which is insane, right? Especially if you're playing a deck that can damage the bench, or even if you're just playing a strong deck like a Mewtwo deck. A lot of the times what happens is once you get the ball rolling with those really powerful EX Pokemon, you start doing a lot of damage to their Pokemon, and then they have to switch out so they don't die next turn, right? And so in that case, you get to switch it back in with Cyrus. So there are a lot of cases where this is better than Sabrina because you get to choose what they switch into. However, of course, it's not always better than Sabrina. Keep that in mind. There might be cases where you want to play Sabrina. Sabrina's better early game where your opponents, maybe none of your opponent's Pokemon have damage on them. There's also some corner cases where like maybe you need one more point to win the game and your opponent has like an EX in play and then their bench Pokemon's really like a weak Pokemon but they don't have any damage on it. And if they only have that one Pokemon on the bench, Sabrina would basically win you the game there, whereas Cyrus would do nothing. So there are cases where Sabrina can still see play, but if you're trying to decide between the two, I feel like most people would choose Cyrus in that case. Again, this meta is pretty crazy right now, and I don't expect it to get any less crazy with Druddigon being able to do massive amounts of damage just by sitting there. Not massive amounts, but Druddigon being able to do like chip damage every turn just by sitting there. Also, because of the Druddigon Gyarados decks, people have started favoring Pokemon like Hitmonlee and Zebstrika, which can do damage to the bench, which of course makes this makes Cyrus even better. So we're gonna have to see if the meta kind of resets and shifts back in other directions, but this card does look very powerful. And the next card I wanted to talk about is our first look at a tool. We saw, I think there's about 3 leaked Pokemon tool trainers that have been leaked. And the first one I think is just so good. And by the way, Pokemon tools, it says attach a Pokemon tool to one of your Pokemon that doesn't already have a Pokemon tool attached. So of course you cannot just load up multiple Pokemon tools on one Pokemon. It's one per Pokemon. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, this game only has 20 card slots in a deck. It'll be interesting to see because there's a lot of new cards being added and a lot of them look really strong. So between like supporters and trainers and tools, it's going to be really interesting to see how people decide like which of each to play, because I don't think Pokeball and Professor's Research are going to be kicked out anytime soon. I still imagine those will always be like the cards you want to always play 2 of those pretty much. So again, it's going to be interesting to see like how everyone balances like all these tools and supporters that are being added. But anyway, Rocky Helmet, it's basically Druddigon's ability on an item. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, do 20 damage to the attacking Pokemon. So, yeah. Keep in mind too, let's read the wording again. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon. So this is actually a little different from Druddigon's. Druddigon, I believe, says if it's damaged from the active Pokemon. I could be wrong about that, but this does not specify active. So for example, if I have a Pokemon in my active spot with Rocky Helmet, and my opponent uses Greninja's ability on my active Pokemon, it sounds like Greninja would take 20 damage, even though Greninja's not the active Pokemon for my opponent. So this can still do damage to benched Pokemon if those benched Pokemon are attacking my active Pokemon. So again, I forgot whether Druddigon does that or not, but either way, I mean, this card is kind of dumb. Obviously, people have talked about playing this with Druddigon, which sounds like a nightmare. So every time you attack Druddigon, you now take 40 damage, which is insane. That's enough that can 2-shot some Pokemon, that can 3-shot some really strong Pokemon, even some EXs. Like that's just a nightmare. So yeah, but beyond Druddigon decks, I'm not exactly sure where this would see play and how many copies of this would see play. It's possible that this is just really good, but you would want this in a deck with Pokemon that have high HP, obviously. So maybe like on a Mew EX or something like that, because Mew can just do chip damage, or like Palkia EX. This would be really good on Palkia EX because it has 150 HP and it can do 30 damage for just 1 energy. So you can like chip away their health, and like if they're attacking you, they're also taking a lot of damage. Well, 20 damage, but that adds up quickly. And if they're not attacking you, you're just chipping away at their health with the basic attack, with the 30 damage attack from Palkia. So yeah, Pokemon with massive HP stats are going to really love Rocky Helmet, and I could see it seeing a lot of play and making the meta even more annoying. I mean, we already hate Druddigon. Decks that just play Druddigon and it just sits there while they set up their bench. This is just that all over again. And again, this pairs perfectly with Druddigon. So nightmares incoming, am I right? We also got some images of the Togekiss line, and they're pretty interesting. It's kind of what you'd expect. You know, Togepi's a pretty standard basic Pokemon. Togetic is interesting. From the leaks that we have here, it's got 80 HP. It does 40 damage for 1 energy. That's okay. That's honestly not too bad. And then Togekiss is really strong. So it does, I think its move is called Overdrive Smash. It's 140 HP for Togekiss. It has 1 retreat cost, and it does 60 damage, the attack, Overdrive Smash. And then it says, during your next turn, this Pokemon's Overdrive Smash does 60 more damage. So you do 60 damage with it, which is not bad. Like, for 2 energy, 60 damage, that's okay. That's not terrible. And then the following turn, you do 120. So you might, maybe, if you're lucky, you knock out like a weakened Pokemon with your first Overdrive Smash, and then the next turn, you basically get a guaranteed knockout on whatever they go into. Not guaranteed, because obviously there are Pokemon with more than 120 HP, but, you know, you can do a lot of damage. Also, don't forget what Cynthia does. Cynthia can boost your Togekiss's damage by 50 that turn. So you could start with Overdrive Smash and then like use Cynthia before, and the first turn you could do 110 damage, and then the following turn do 120. So you're just consistently doing massive chunks of damage. And you know, if your opponent doesn't have too many EX Pokemon left, or if their EX Pokemon are weakened, you're just killing things. You're just plowing through the enemy with Togekiss. Obviously, you can also use like Overdrive Smash, do 61 turn, and then the following turn play Cynthia and do 170, which basically kills anything, right? Almost anything in the meta. So yeah, Togekiss is going to be really strong. That is insanely strong. However, keep in mind that this is a Stage 2 Pokemon. So usually a lot of the Stage 2 Pokemon we've seen in this meta, for the most part, they don't usually attack. Like, they're not usually meant to attack. Like, if you think of Serperior and Gardevoir, typically they're just there to, like, set up your other Pokemon. And then a Pokemon like Greninja also is just there to, like, do damage from the bench. So a lot of the Stage 2 Pokemon we've seen are not, like, main attackers. So it'll be interesting to see if Togekiss sees a lot of play, mainly because it is a Stage 2. Cynthia makes it extremely powerful, but again, it's going to take you a while to get there, and you might have games where you never see Togepi, or you never see Togetic, right? Or you never even see Togekiss, right? So a lot needs to go right, and of course, I think this meta is going to just be so much more powerful. Like, obviously, they're adding a bunch of new, very powerful cards, so I think this meta is just going to be a lot more powerful than what we've seen. So setting up a Stage 2 as your main attacker might not be the play. And of course, after Cynthia, or talking about these Cynthia cards, we have Garchomp. Gibble, of course, 60 HP. It does 20 damage for 1 colorless energy. Then we have Gabite, or Gabite. I call it Gabite. 90 HP, does 60 damage for a water and a fighting energy with Slash. And 90 HP, 1 retreat cost. That's okay. I mean, if you're playing this card, that means you're playing 2 colors, right? This is our first, like easily setupable dragon. Dragonite was our first dragon, and it was a fun deck. I really loved the Dragonite deck, but it required 4 energy, and 2 of which were different types, so that took a while to set up. And then Druddigon sees a lot of play, but it almost never attacks. It's usually there to just set other things up. So this is our first dragon where, you know, one energy of just 2 different colors is not that crazy to set up. You just need 1 water, 1 fighting, and then you're good to go. So Garchomp itself, it's 140 HP. It has Dragon Claw for water and fighting. It does 100 damage. It also has a Pokemon power where basically you can discard a card from your hand once per turn, and if you do that, you draw a card. So you can, like, fix what you're drawing. Not fix, but, like, you know, if you don't like a card that you have in your hand, you get to get rid of it and then draw into a new card, which can really, really help. There have been a lot of situations, a lot of games where like I have a lot of cards in my hand and I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to use this, or I don't know, maybe I have like a stage 2 Pokemon in my hand, but all of my stage 1s have died at that point or something. So getting rid of those and drawing into more cards is really strong, especially on a Pokemon power, like on an ability. The fact that you can do this effectively for free, and not free because you have to discard a card and it's only once per turn, but you don't need to spend any resources to do this. You just do it, and I think that's really powerful. So yeah, I mean, Garchomp obviously can do 150 with Cynthia. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. I mean, maybe you play this in a Druddigon deck, but you know, obviously Druddigon requires water and fire, so you're probably never going to be attacking with Druddigon again. And then, I mean, that could still work. Like a Druddigon Garchomp deck could be really strong. I'd be really excited to see that work. And let's talk EXs. I'm going to pull up a few of the EXs that we saw. We have Infernape EX, Gallade EX, Weavile EX, and then they also showed a Cresselia EX, although I think that might be a promo. So it could be like the Lapras EX, where that was not part of the main set, and then they added it as part of an event. We're not sure. I mean, it could be part of the set, but then they also give a promo of it, but we'll see. Either way, let's talk about these. Infernape EX, really interesting Pokemon. So this confirms, I mean, I suspected that the starters would have EXs. Of course, we've only seen Infernape, so we don't know if Empoleon or Torterra are going to have EXs, but I am pretty sure they will. 170 HP for Infernape EX. It has Flare Blitz for 2 fire energy. It says discard all fire energies from this Pokemon. So only 2 energies to do 140 damage. That is a lot of damage. The drawback, of course, is that you have to discard the energies. However, this is the part that's really insane about it. Infernape EX has 0 retreat cost. It has 0 retreat cost. That is really good. That's like Starmie EX, right? So this is comparable to Starmie. But basically what you can do is go into Infernape, get off a Flare Blitz, basically kill anything, because 140 damage, that kills almost anything. You know, even against Mewtwo EX, like with Giovanni, this kills Mewtwo in one hit. So you can kill something and then retreat and then go into something else and then set up your Infernape on the bench and then retreat later on, go back into Infernape and get another kill, right? So that can do a lot of damage. With Moltres EX, that's really cool because you could like go for Flare Blitz, get a kill, retreat back into Moltres for free, and then use Moltres' attack to put more energies on Infernape, and then the next turn do it all again, right? So that could be a lot of fun. Once again, like I said with Togekiss, this is a Stage 2 Pokemon, so it's going to require some setup, and, you know, maybe, I mean, the way that they kind of fix this too is this requires you to discard all fire energies from Infernape, so you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to set up with Moltres on Infernape early game, I'm going to put like 5 fire energies on Infernape, and then go into Infernape and go for Flare Blitz, Flare Blitz, Flare Blitz. Like, it's not saying discard 2 energies, it's saying discard all. So you can't just like preemptively put a bunch of energies on it, and then just go for a bunch of attacks. So I like this Pokemon a lot, but again, it's a Stage 2. Is it better than Charizard? Honestly, I'm not sure it is. Honestly, it's kind of sad to say. I mean, the 0 retreat cost is what's going to make this unique, so maybe there will be situations where it's better, but either way, I'm excited. Then we have Gallade EX, which is 170 HP, fighting type. Of course, it's a Stage 1, has 1 retreat cost, so we have another strong Stage 1 Pokemon. Now, here's the funny thing. This is a really interesting situation here. Gallade's a fighting type, and Ralts and Kirlia are psychic types. So they did add a new Ralts and a new Kirlia in this set, each of which only require colorless energies to attack, and I guess the reason for that is so that you can evolve them into Gallade. So you're not putting like psychic energies on your Kirlia and then evolving it into a fighting type, right? So yeah, Gallade is really interesting. It's another fighting type EX, which we don't. I mean, we have a good amount of them already, right? But this is an interesting one. Again, it's a Stage 2, so that's what we want to keep in mind. It has, I think it's called Energize Blade. It does 70 plus damage. It does plus 20 more damage for each energy on the active Pokemon. For two fighting energy, it does that. So very similar to like, there's a lot of Pokemon that do this effect. There's like Alakazam. There's Jinx, I think, also does a very similar attack. This is basically, I don't know if it's better than I think Alakazam does 60 base damage, but then it does plus 30 but Alakazam also requires 3 energies to use. So this is like a different version of Alakazam. This also, of course, has a lot more HP than Alakazam, but it's an EX, right? So if it dies, they get 2 points. We'll see how this turns out. Again, the fact that it's a stage 2 is what's giving me a lot of pause about this, but Gallade's awesome. So if Gallade is a playable Pokemon, I would be really excited because it's a really cool Pokemon. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Then we've got Weavile EX. Weavile EX is 140 HP, and it has an attack called Scratching Nails. For a dark energy, it does 30 damage. And then if your opponent's active Pokemon has damage on it, this attack does 40 more damage. So if you attack with it once, and then the following turn you attack again, it's going to do 70 damage. I was talking about really wanting a new Dark-type Pokemon, specifically a Dark EX, and because I love me some Weezing, so I could absolutely see you playing this in a Weezing deck. Weezing poisons them, and then you can go into Weavile and do 70 damage to them. And that's pretty solid damage. I mean, that only requires 1 energy, right? So not only that, but it only has 1 retreat cost as well. So Weavile EX is looking pretty cool. We don't know what Sneasel does yet, but, this is a stage 1, and it's pretty solid all around. And then we'll talk about Cresselia EX. It says, again, this could just be like a Lapras situation where we don't get Cresselia in the main set. It might be not until we get an event in order to get this, but who knows. 140 HP, 2 retreat cost, and it has Lunar Plumage. Whenever you attach a psychic energy from your energy zone to this Pokemon, heal 20 damage from this Pokemon, and then its attack is Psychic Flash for 2 psychic and 1 colorless energy. That's 3 total. It does 80 damage. This is a good Pokemon. It's cool. It's just another option. Maybe comparable to Mew. Honestly, it is pretty comparable to Mew. It's got more HP than Mew, and it does a consistent 80 damage. Obviously, Mew's upsides are that it can steal the opponent's attacks. So against other strong EX Pokemon like Mewtwo or Charizard, it can just destroy them. But against weaker Pokemon, it's worse. But Mew also has the Budding Expeditioner trainer to pick it up, which is really good. So this is very different, right? It has a lot of longevity with that heal 20, just for simply putting energies on it. This does not even need to be your active Pokemon for that ability to trigger. So this is another Psychic Pokemon that's pretty good with Gardevoir on the bench. Because if this has 1 energy on it, then you could just put this in your active spot and then, on your next turn put an energy on it and then use Gardevoir's ability to put another, and then you can do 80 damage. So also with Gardevoir's ability, this lets you heal 40 damage from it, which is really powerful. So yeah, this could be a new Pokemon to play with Gardevoir. It sounds insane. I don't think you would do this, but maybe there's a deck where you play Mewtwo EX, Cresselia EX, Mew EX, and Gardevoir. That sounds pretty insane to play so many strong EX Pokemon, especially since they all require some amount of setup. But if you have your Gardevoir going, all of those Pokemon are really, really strong. So maybe this replaces Mewtwo, maybe it replaces Mew, maybe it makes a new deck with Gardevoir, but either way, yeah, this Pokemon's really cool. And the last card I want to talk about here is Giant Cape, which is a tool card, and it just adds 20 HP to your active Pokemon, or to your Pokemon that this is attached to. So you attach it to one of your Pokemon, and it gets plus 20 HP. This also seems like a really strong card. This seems like you could play this in almost any deck. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of strategies evolve. There are some Pokemon where you're like, oh, it's really good, but its HP is kind of low. So adding this onto one of your Pokemon could make it really good. So yeah, this is going to be probably a staple of the meta. And with these tanky Pokemon that we're talking about, especially the EXs with a lot of HP, the basic EXs, this could really change how things go. And of course, this could really disrupt the enemy's plans. Because if you're like, oh, I have my Celebi with 130 HP and my opponent's going to go for an attack that does 140 to me, but then I put this Giant Cape on it before, now they're not going to kill me, right? So that could really change how the game goes. So yeah, Giant Cape is a big deal. And of course, Giant Cape and Rocky Helmet, they both look like they go really well with Pachirisu EX. We were talking about how that Pokemon, it can do 80 damage if it has a tool attached. So of course, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But honestly, there are a few more cards that we got, but I'm already going really long here, so I'm just going to kind of end it right here. A lot of the other cards we got are not anything super special, I don't think, so I just wanted to talk about the ones that I think are going to make a huge impact on the meta. So let me know in the comments which of these you are excited for the most. I mean, there's so many to choose from. Honestly, I know this is kind of a lame answer, but I think I'm excited for the tools because they can make other Pokemon better, but when I was talking about it, Cresselia EX really stood out to me, so I'm excited for that. Basically, I'm excited for any of the basic EX Pokemon just because they're really strong, as well as Weavile. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you're hoping for and what you think, and have a great day. Almost there, almost at Space-Time Smackdown release. See you next time.